Hi there, and thanks for dropping by. My name is Trolls, and in this video we can take a look at our new kick-ass Epic Framedrum Ensemble. It's not called kick-ass, but it is our new remastered and reimagined version of our original Epic Framedrum Ensemble. And there's a lot you can do with this library. As you can see here on the browsers, everything now is loaded into the library. You have this exclusive browser here that allows you to access any part of the library you want. So you no longer have to go in and load a bunch of different NKIs and that. We only have 3 NKIs that actually contain a bunch of main articulations and sub-articulations out here. But without further ado, why don't we just get into it? Let me play the demo, which also comes with the library. I've actually created both a multi for this demo, and it comes as a MIDI file. So you can essentially re-trigger everything you're going to be hearing in this video step by step. And if you want to learn a little more about percussive programming besides from the video here, there's definitely a lot of small details you can go in and check out on the individual tracks. Some are quantized, some are not quantized, some are a little more loose, some are a little more tight, and all that stuff. But let me just play the demo here, and then let's try to go in track by track and listen a little more to the details. And I'll explain a little more about the library, actually how versatile it is. We have a bunch of unique effects, and you're going to hear them here in the beginning. The large drags, for example, where we're using these unique Super Bowls and sort of dragging them over the skin of the frame drums, creates super cool sounds. We also have some different sort of more alarming sounds down here in the sequence. But yeah, check it out. Everything you're hearing is made exclusively with the new Epic Framedrum Ensemble. So let's check it out. Aren't they cool, those dragging effects? You heard them both in the beginning, here in the middle for the alarm sounds, and here in the end as well. Like really, really awkward to expect that from a Framedrum Ensemble. And speaking of those, why don't we just check them out a little more in detail here. As you can see here, right on this first channel here, we have effects large drag, and you can see there's a variety of different articulations here that each contains a bunch of different samples. So in the case here of the large drag, let me just play a couple of them. And it's actually every single key down here that's a separate sample. So as you can see, there's a lot of different ones just in the effects section here in our master program. Next up here, and you probably heard that as well, we have these awesome individual frame drums. Let me just load up here, where you can actually isolate the individual frame drums. It's not just that we have the ensemble, but we also have individual frame drums recorded in the same hall as well. And on top of that, we also have a completely different library called the new solo frame drums that goes even into deeper detail when it comes to solo frame drums. But we have a beautiful assortment here of individual frame drums. Let me just try to play a little bit of the first sequence up here so you can hear what's going on with frame drum number 1. And one of the beauties about deep sampling is you can do these very, very fast triggers here. And obviously we have so many different velocity layers in round robin, so you can really get that very but there's so much variation. It doesn't have that machine gun effect. And as you can see here, this is all played loosely in hand. I did not quantize this. You can see there's a little bit of a separation between the notes. If you really go in and look deeply at them here, you can see they're not really that tight. And that's beautiful because it means you get a little more variation in it. So when you do that super fast roll with all the drums synchronized here, it just has a beefy kind of loose sound to it. Let me just play one more time. And it's just awesome if you're gonna do some custom rolls. I kind of like to do it my own way, so I don't use like pre-recorded rolls. I always design them myself, and you just get a more connection to your composition by sort of just doing it all the way from scratch. Let me also demonstrate a little bit with the master patch here. This one contains every single instrument in the library sort of spread over a ginormous patch here. So every key here would symbolize a different articulation. So you can see there's a lot, and that's not even including the solo instruments. This is just the ensemble about it. You have everything at your fingertips. Let me just show you. So you can see there's a lot, and I love the master patches. You can see I've actually loaded a couple times here. They're great for just getting that overall generic rhythm thing going, whether you want to do things like this, or stuff like this, or stuff like this. Next up is another variation of our individual frame drums. This would be the frame drum number 2. And you can see I use that a lot up in here in the sequence for different things. Let me just try to play the first part here. Let's mute that one. And you can see I'm actually using it across the sequence. Let me just play a little bit of the last part here as well. And as you notice, that was sounded like a little more than just one frame drum. You can see here there's actually a lot of them played at the same time, and these were on the grid. And a great trick that I use all the time for percussive programming is to have some things on the grid quantized, particularly things that are really rhythmically defining. And then you might have looser tracks. So I might have my main master patch here with the metallic Riq drums or another frame drum playing a little more loosely on top of that, and that gives you really that more live sensation in the percussion. But you can hear this was somewhat like tight. We're running at 150 BPM right now, so you definitely need tight components underneath that as well. And you probably also noticed that there was this weird kind of textual delay at the very end. Let me just show you. So what you're listening to is our new textual delay. So it's not only that in the library that we got delay, which you can also control here from our chaos effects section. It's actually a dual stereo delay, but it's also that you can use our new textual delays here. You can see we have a bunch of different ones in here. Let me just try to choose another one so you can hear the difference. And some of them have like tonal qualities like the one you just heard, but there are also other ones that have more of just of a rhythmic non-tonal component to them. Let me try to dial it up here a little bit more so you can hear it more in its higher states. And they're really just great if you want to get more of those sort of more otherworldly components, so you're not just delaying the actual sound itself, but you're also delaying it with another texture. Let me just try another one here. Next up here is a second iteration of our master patch, and the reason I have multiple iterations of the same patch is in part for organization. I don't like when I have too many notes staggered, it can get a little too complicated, but sometimes I also just like to have them because I sort of use them for different things. So up here I used it for more traditional frame drum elements, and down here I'm playing on a more exotic vibe. I'm using the Middle Eastern Riq drum, which is a somewhat big tambourine looking thing. It's an awesome, very flexible frame drum. Let me just show you here. Whereas in the first patch up here, I didn't use the Riq drum, but more traditional articulations. Let me try to play a little later here in the sequence another part using the Riq drum again. And there's actually a lot of stuff going on here. Let's take a look at the sequence. The first part, you probably heard there's this weird sort of tambourine sound, like you're shaking a tambourine. And again, that's just me playing the Riq drum, but not quantized. This is all played in hand, and it just has that very loose kind of feeling to it. So it really sounds like you're shaking a tambourine in real time. And also, if you notice down here, when we got to the more normal traditional frame drum parts here, some things are absolutely on the grid quantized and some things are loose down here. And if you want to get a little more into percussive programming, I absolutely encourage you to always follow that advice. Have some things on the grid. Some of the really accentuated, deeper percussions, they can absolutely be stable. But when it comes to stuff like ghost notes or rolls or all these more syncopated type of details, it's a really good idea to have them loose. So you sort of have a combination between the stability of absolute quantization, and then you have some rolls here like you're the perfect drummer, being able to do both things at the same time. It almost creates that illusion that you can hear they're really static when they're playing dung, 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 dung. But when you have those rolls that are more loose, it's like, okay, this is kind of lively. And sometimes it's also a good idea not to use quantization at all. Sometimes require a little more programming, but it gives really good results. So be careful with quantization in any regard. And it doesn't just go for percussion. I think it goes for most MIDI sequencing, if not all of it. Let's go down here and listen a little more to an effects section. This time we have the large drag, but you can see I tuned it up 8 semitones, so sort of a higher pitch, weird kind of alarm sounding sound. And again, you can hear in that one, I'm using our textual delay here. Let me try another one. And as I also mentioned, it's a little hard to hear on this sound here because it's sort of tonal, but it's not just that our delays, our stereo delays here, are tempo synced. We actually also have tempo synchronization for our textual delays. So once you get into the more elegant aspects of percussive programming and you start using some of the textual delays here, they'll actually synchronize to the tempo of your DAW as well. Really, really cool effect. And speaking of effects, we actually have more of them down here. This again is our master patch, and we're gonna listen a little bit to our effects A section here. So it certainly has some similarities to the first one up here. And you can also see I dragged this one down 16 semitones, so it's really, really deep. It goes down in the realm of subwoofers and all that stuff. And they're also really great if you want to get a little more leverage out of the drums, some booming qualities. You can absolutely tune them down. The recordings is so pristine, the beautiful hall they're recorded in. So it really takes tuning well both up and down. You go down to about -24 and you'll still get stuff in your sub. So really cool stuff. Let me also try to play a little bit more here with our solo patch. So again, if you load our master patch, we actually have a whole section of solo frame drums in here as well. Let me just try to play a little bit with them. And you can definitely hear in this sequence in particular that it's very, very loose in some parts. It's almost like flamish. And I like to use flams sometimes also for rhythmic accentuation. It just helps create that more loose quality again here. And you can see these are absolutely not on the grid. This guy here should have been on the grid. You can see it's rather loose and it's almost not tight enough. But that's really a matter of taste. I like sometimes to have things that are super loose on top of the tightness as well. It can really give an interesting feeling. And particularly when you're trying to mimic ensembles, nobody would ever be that tight playing it all together. You would have some flam aspects and all that stuff. So sometimes also listen to what the instrument sort of wants from you. I think a lot of people tend to force virtual instruments to do things that they're not necessarily capable of in the same sense as humans, but sometimes really embrace, all right, what is the quality of this library? What are the samples trying to tell me? And let that inspire you and fuse back into your composition. It's a really important point of view. We get so many questions regarding demos and how to use the libraries, and people often want to do things that the library doesn't really want to do. So it's not just composing to your brain and your thoughts and your intuitions and your feelings is also to work with the samples, regard them as little friends, if you will. That's a really great trick. So don't force the samples. Try to embrace the best qualities they have and get the best out of them. Let me just wrap it up here by playing a little bit with our ensemble rims. I love using these almost in the same sense that you would have shakers in a Latin group and all that stuff. For epic percussion, it's really good idea to use the rims. They have that higher pitched articulation, really good for tight rhythmic definition as well. And there you go, a little introduction to our awesome new Epic Framedrum Ensembles. This library is actually one of my favorite libraries, sort of from the old generation. I've talked about it before, about sample gold. There are just certain sample libraries and certain parts of sample libraries that really work well, and this library has always been near and dear to me. And if you ever wonder if you've heard this sound before, pay closer attention to the main theme of Game of Thrones, for example, where you can listen to this particular library in all its glory. There are many other uses of it, but it has a really unique quality. You can definitely hear that this is Epic Framedrum Ensemble. The whole has a certain vibe to it and all that stuff. So I hope this little introduction gave you a little insight into the library here again. And just to show you here, when you load the library, this would be the master patch. We have 3 different patches, but each of them have like a subgroup of individual patches here. So for example, the master here, you have the main, you have all our ensemble drums, you have all the individual frame drums in one patch here. You have 2 different effect sections here. And then you can also isolate, all right, I want to play all the body sounds of the ensembles or the frame or the rims, or I want to isolate the solo drums or the Riq drums or the effects here. Or in the case of our individual patches here, this is a second patch. You can see we have all our individual drums here. So you have 5 different individual frame drums. You also have the rims of these individual drums, and you have the solo drums here as well. So there's actually more going into it. And in addition, you also have our sequencer here. You can actually sequence different drum patterns, and because we have so many layers around Robin and Velosa layers, you can really sculpt beautiful drum sequences here, and you can do it in any kind of tempo you want. You can do triplets if you want as well. And on top of that, we have our ADSR here. We have a bunch of front-faced effects, including filters, pitch, microtonal pitch, stereo delay crusher, and the transformer as I showed you as well. And obviously you got EQ here on the right side too. And down here in our effects section, you can actually go in and control the library even further. But we wanted to create a front-faced, we call it front-faced effects here. You actually have a randomizer here for it as well if you want to randomize the effects. And it'll also randomize the textual delays. But this is a much easier, fast way of just getting into manipulating sounds. You can do whatever groove you want here. You can also randomize that actually if you want. And then you can go in and control the front-faced effects, and you'll just be done. So this new interface and the whole concept of all these updates is really to make libraries that work faster, more effective, and you can have so much fun with them. And of course, if you're on the more lazy side, we also have loops included with the library. There's hundreds and hundreds of different loops that are all tempo synced, and these are the core tempos you can see they're recorded in. And each of these ones here have hundreds and hundreds of different loops in them as well. Let me just play you a couple.